here. I've got 7:01 by my clock.
Yep.
So I'll call the meeting to order. Our chair, Mark Pasamato, of course, isn't here, so I'll be filling in as acting chair. And we have, let's see, up first, oh yeah, we have reappoint our recording clerk. Our new town council has updated all of the employment contracts for people doing contract work. They've all gone from about 2/3 of a page to 11 pages. And we now have to reappoint and approve the contract, I guess. So we're just looking for a motion to reappoint Laura Davis as our recording clerk.
Moved.
Thank you. And and a second, please.
Second.
Thank you.
And roll call. So Zulik,
Here. Or yes.
Farrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring you back to grade school.
Excuse me. Next up, Scenic Road bylaw presentation by Marnie Houlihan from the Planning Board.
So I will bring Marnie over, and once she gets loaded in, I will let her take it away.
Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. So thanks for inviting me. If you are willing to indulge me, I'm going to share my screen. And what I'd like to do today is really just walk through. I'm not going to put this in presentation mode just because it's easier to see you while I present at the same time. So let me just, what do you see? Do you see my screen right now?
Yeah, we see your PowerPoint kind of minimized. Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
Now
Right. Let's make it so it's bigger. Okay, so the purpose for me coming to you today is in May, the planning board brought forward the scenic bylaw, and Don presented it, and this was his last act walking out the door, and so I've picked up to hopefully fill his shoes. And it basically was postponed until the next meeting, which is in October. And since we had time, we thought we might as well come to you, the Conservation Commission, provide a little bit of a history tour. I'll do this rather quickly, and then see if the Conservation Commission would like to joint sponsor this bylaw. So let me first start with a little bit of background. So the Scenic Road designation is an MGL Chapter 40, Section 50C, and essentially it protects roads that the town has so designated as scenic it's really at the end of the day for trees and stone walls, and it's for the protection of trees and stone walls. And so we see this as an opportunity to update our current road system. There's 68 roads that have become new to town since the last designation, and I think it's 1978. We'll go through that history. And so the question is, how do we proceed to do this? And if you would be willing to co-sponsor this, what you all believe is the right way to, kind of trailblaze and set the path forward for moving on. So just from the way that the law is written, recommendations to designate a scenic road can come from the Planning Board, the Conservation Commission, or the Historical Commission by law. And in history, the Conservation Commission has brought forward the last 3 bylaws. So in 1975, the town designated 10 scenic roads. In 1976, they designated 8 scenic roads. And in 1978, they designated all remaining town roads. And these are roads that are non-numbered or highways. And that was 1978. So nothing's been done since 1978. So now we're in a position where we're in 2022, and we have 68 scenic roads that are roads that exist that we would like to designate scenic roads. So let me just walk through it and just, interject as you need to for any clarity if I'm not providing it. So the guidelines currently to suggest the Scenic Roads Act has no guidelines or criteria for what constitutes the definition of scenic. Southborough currently has no guidelines for what constitutes a scenic road. And precedent was set in 1978 when all remaining roads were adopted by town to be scenic. So setting that context, we say, why do we create scenic road designations? And again, I'm not sure if you're aware of all of the turmoil that's happening currently with protecting our trees, public shade trees, which are protected under Mass General Law, and some issues that are being confronted with just process in town. But what this helps to do is protect our public shade trees, and it adds another layer of protection, and it protects stone walls. It doesn't protect any trees on private property. So just to be clear, this is really on public ways and public designations. So shade trees right now are protected under Mass General Law, Chapter 87, Section 3, with public hearings with the tree warden. So any public shade in the public right of way has to go through a hearing. That's not been followed recently. So we're trying to work with that on the planning board because it is the law. Scenic road designations, this MGL Chapter 40, Section 15C, requires that if it's a road and it's a public shade tree, then it's a designated joint discussion of the tree warden with the planning board. And so that protects both trees and stone walls. So what we have now in town is protection under MGL Chapter 87, Section 3, that public shade trees on all 183 town public ways. We have additional protection under MGL Chapter 40, Section 15C, scenic roads, which is the roads, the stone walls and the trees on 115 town public ways. So the discrepancy is kind of the roads that do we want to designate as scenic. So if we were to pursue this, there are 68 roads that would be impacted. These are all the listings of the roads. And basically, they've all been new roads since 1978. I'll just give you one more second to read through the list. I know there's a lot of them.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm following correctly. These are roads that are not declared scenic roads currently that we are interested in because they basically missed the last cutoff when all the other ones were designated. They've been built after that time point.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're not missing anything. So my discussion point tonight is when Don presented this, Don Morris, former chairman of the planning board, the feedback from town meeting in May was the suggestion that all roads are not scenic. Like people didn't think, well, my road's not scenic. We don't have any stone walls. We don't want to designate it scenic. And so in considering this and really putting this back up on for October, the question that I would welcome a discussion on is the worry that arises if we were to define scenic roads with a proposed bylaw, and I mistyped, it should be 68, not 69. There's implications to that. So if you decide that you're going to now start to cherry pick what your scenic road designations are, my impression is that there's going to be a need to remove or eliminate the designation of a scenic road. And so if you create this new rule that we enact now, that we're going to have people who are on designated scenic roads from 1978 or prior that say, well, then this isn't a scenic road as defined. So you're now going to have to, eliminate those designations. For me, this just concerns me, one, because it creates just more kind of needs for systems and processes and people to follow rules and communications. And we already have a little bit of a challenge of that right now in our town. And so that's really the first discussion point for you is one, before we even ask if you'd be willing to co-sponsor the question as a conservation commission, do you think that we would need to be starting to designate what scenic means? And does it mean something different as a road versus a public way versus a numbered street versus, I don't know what you start to define scenic and you start to look in our town code if the word scenic as applied as a road would apply to other uses of the word scenic throughout the town code.
So I'll speak up. Personally, I think it's chaos out there right now because nobody has any idea which roads are scenic, which ones aren't. I think even the town just discovered that a whole bunch of roads were scenic that they didn't know about. And then when you get to people taking down trees, the first thing is, oh, I didn't know. So making all of them scenic, I think, has that benefit of removing the ambiguity of, is this road scenic or not? If it's not numbered, it's not scenic. Or if it's numbered, it's not scenic. Otherwise, yeah, follow the rules like everyone else. Yeah.
Other thoughts? I know this is riveting stuff.
I have a quick question. For shade tree removal, the public hearing with the tree warden. Thank you. Is it a hearing only with the tree warden at this point?
Well, not right now. Right now, there's a new process that's being adopted by the select board who is designated the town warden. And they've allocated or delegated their town warden to be Chris Leroy. But because of this really about 3 years of not following law, we've put in a process flow chart to be able to kind of say everything needs to now go through both, unless the tree is dead, because the planning board is less trusting that the decisions will be made that are appropriate at this point.
Okay, yeah. I've heard a little bit about that. So basically, all we would be doing is ensuring that along any non-numbered public way in town, that the removal of any tree or stone wall would go before the planning board.
Essentially, yes, that's the ultimate what happens.
Does anyone have any thoughts? We've heard from Kevin already, but anybody else regarding your support for this or not?
I had another kind of clarifying question. So all shade trees are already protected, regardless of whether they're on a scenic route or not, correct? And so this is really just protecting the stone walls then? And also trees that are not considered shade trees?
No, all trees are considered public. If they're in the public right of way, they're considered public shade trees. So all trees are protected on public ways.
So this is just increasing the protection. Does this then cover private trees if it becomes a scenic road designation?
No, private roads still remain on private property. We have no ability to control what happens to those.
So then this would technically only, by giving it a scenic road designation, it only protects stone walls that are not being protected right now.
And it forces the planning board to be part of the conversations with public shade tree removal. So it kind of adds just yet another layer of, hey, there is a law and now there is another law. So really it's important for you to just have a conversation with the planning board and be able to have decisions that are jointly constructed between the planning board and the tree warden regarding trees. So that's what this second level of assurance would be. And it would add, if there are stone walls on any of the new scenic roads that are or roads that we would like to, or I'm positioning to call scenic, they would be further protected should there be stone walls that people can't remove them.
How do I become a tree warden?
There are requirements to become a tree warden, and that is there another tree bylaw that we're proposing that will be at this special town meeting, and that there are requirements by Mass General Law. I don't have them at the top of my presentation, but I can certainly pull them and share them with you. And I do not believe that our current Chris Leroy holds the qualifications as designated by MGL.
And sorry, one last question. Is someone currently fined? Like, what happens if you cut down a tree that you shouldn't, or disturb a wall that is, like, you get a slap on the wrist? I know, Kevin, you were like, it's kind of chaos out there right now. So I'm just curious, like, is there a fine? Is it just like, don't do that again? And if you add in the second layer of protection, is it still just a fine and then don't do that again? Or does this actually bring in some sort of penalty or, something like that?
Right now, there's no accountability for making a decision and having a tree cut down.
And if you add in the scenic road designation, there still is not really any accountability.
Not in the scenic road bylaw, but in the public shade tree bylaw that the planning board is also going to be putting forward, there will be an area of fines and fees.
Sorry, that's all my questions. Thanks.
No, it's interesting. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, and my opinion's the exact opposite. I think that the chaos is that we're not allowed to take down these trees. I can't drive down almost any older road in Southborough without having a hazard tree out there. And I see it as a public safety issue. We need to get on these trees. Somebody's going to die, and then we got real problems.
Hazard trees or trees that are deemed dead or in hazard do not require a public hearing.
Well, that's not what I'm hearing. That is not what I'm hearing. I think planning board better figure it out before they start bringing all these more rules in. This is insanity.
Respectfully, could I ask where you're hearing that from?
I've been hearing around town that we have a problem, not a problem with trees, but we're not allowed to take down hazard trees, obviously dead trees, without planning board's permission.
Thank you for the information.
Is the Department of Public Works who's responsible for taking down dead trees on roadways?
Yes.
Is that okay?
And they have that ability to do so.
And so the DPW is saying that they're not allowed to take down trees, is what you're hearing, Russ?
That is correct.
Okay. And who does it? Sorry, everyone knows I'm like really new to this. Does the DPW like report to the town planning board? Like, what's the relation? Are they?
No, the DPW, Karen Galligan is a direct report of the select board.
Okay.
I think things have come to, I'm not sure the right phrase here, is something of a crisis point recently with the most recent attempt at the bylaw and some proposed work on a couple of truly scenic roads, Chestnut Hill Road and I think Lover's Lane also. And I think that has maybe stirred up some reluctance on DPW's part to remove trees without having discussions with others. That's just my sort of casual impression of what I've seen and heard going on.
I just pulled up an article that says that they're not allowed to remove dead trees. So of course that's why there's public misconception of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On mysouthborough.com, the drama of town.
Yeah. It's a pretty chaotic situation right now. I'm aware of more than one instance of a homeowner who simply had a tree. It's within the town right away, but they just didn't want it there, and they took it down. Again, on roads that I think most folks would agree are scenic from an aesthetic standpoint rather than a strictly legal one. So right now I think it is chaos, and I think the situation needs to be rationalized somehow, so that everybody knows exactly what the process is, because right now it's chaotic.
We do not disagree. I think we're in complete agreement is trying to figure that out. There have been trees on a tree removal list since 2017 that are dead trees. Dead trees can be removed.
Right.
They're not coming back to life, right? So.
Yeah.
No, they are a hazard and a liability, exactly what was previously stated. So it's a liability for the town actually to have this list of trees, of known trees that are dead, that the arborist has said are dead, and they're still standing.
Marnie, when do you need an answer from us on this? And I'll tell you, the only reason I ask is that our chair isn't here. And, this is a fairly controversial situation, and I suspect that Mark would like to be a part of a discussion with the commission and certainly part of a vote. So what's your schedule here?
My intent is to just start with a start educational campaign, right? To get some, like, what is the messaging out for both this and the other bylaw. Right now, it is sponsored by the planning board. We will proceed with the planning board. And I think if any time between now and when the final warrant article is printed, which I'm not sure what that date is, I think is the time where you have an opportunity to discuss and decide whether you'd like to jointly sponsor. Separately, I'm going to the Historic Commission as well next week to also solicit if they'd like to be a joint sponsor.
Thank you. Melissa, did I hear you say earlier that Mark may not be able to make our next hearing either?
I think it was Liz and Mark that won't be at the 4th. So yeah, we can discuss later if we want to move the meeting maybe a week. That would be more helpful.
Oh, okay. Then just to give you just a little bit more feedback is that I think I'm generally supportive of the bylaw that you're proposing. But I hope that we're able to continue our discussion with a full panel here. So that we can see if whether or not the commission as a whole does or not. But I'd like to thank you very much for coming in tonight and starting to educate us on this. Basically, I think much of our knowledge just comes from my Southborough and from what we hear speaking with folks around town. It's good to start to actually hear some of the actual facts and the laws that actually are in place. I didn't realize there are laws in place that we've been ignoring. I had no idea. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns for Marnie?
I guess just one quick question. What would be involved in co-sponsoring? Or
I think really just being at the podium at the town meeting to just stand to say that we're jointly, all three groups that are allowed to sponsor it are sponsoring it. So just kind of gives a little bit more, I don't know, credibility to trying to move it forward.
okay.
I will do all the legwork.
Anything else?
Marnie, I'll just keep in touch with you as we have our next meetings and we can get Mark on track. I'll probably try and have a separate conversation with him before the next meeting just to kind of bring him up to speed too.
Perfect. I'll send this deck to you just so you have it in your files. And we do have a joint meeting with the planning board, DPW, and select board. So I hope that there will be some movement, Russ. And so hopefully you won't continue to hear that, and hopefully we'll get resolution. And that's really our goal, is just to have it transparent communication. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and have a wonderful meeting.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining us this evening. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Marnie.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, approval of the minutes from our last hearing, June 23rd. Has everyone had a chance to peruse those? Does anyone have any edits they'd like to propose?
Nothing caught my eye.
Mine neither.
I saw one typo down in the 250 Turnpike Road discussion in the second paragraph. Uses the word bains. I think it's supposed to be basins.
Oh, I see it. Yep. Got it.
I thought it was some wood frog terminology, and then I put it in context. Yeah.
Perfect. Got that. Thank you.
Anybody else? And if not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved. Oh,
And is there a second?
second.
Thank you.
All right. Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. All right, we have a couple of public hearings that apparently are being continued, but I will have to open each of them up and then we can vote to continue it to our next hearing. First up, 259 Turnpike Road. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a continued public hearing on Thursday, July 14th, 2022 at 7 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a notice of intent for a project located at 259 Turnpike Road, map 27, parcel 7, for the applicant and owner, Capital Group Properties, LLC. The project description is construction of new single-family home, septic, and associated infrastructure. They've requested a continuance to our, as scheduled right now, August 4th meeting. Would somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thanks, guys.
And is there a second?
We're doing great.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Okay, next up, same thing. This is an ANRAD 250 Turnpike Road. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a continued public hearing on Thursday, July 14th, 2022 at 7:10 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for a project located at 250 Turnpike Road, map 27, lot 2A, for the applicant David Ferris Development Group. The project description is confirmation of resource area boundaries. And again, looking for a motion to continue this to our August 4th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Thank you.
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. All right. And, all right, 200 Turnpike Road, in accordance with the provisions of the Southborough Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw, Southborough Zoning Code, Chapter 174, Section 13.5, the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will hold a continued public hearing on Thursday, July 14th, 2022 at 7:20 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting on the petition of CMJ Ventures LLC for construction of warehouse space, salt shed, and other site improvements at 200 Turnpike Road, map 28, lot 3C. I understand there've been some changes made pursuant to comments. They're here to present those changes here this evening. However, the finalized review letter from our engineering peer reviewer has not, they haven't had the time to finish that yet. So we will be unable to act, but we can certainly learn about the changes that have been made. I see Mr. Santora is here. Would you like to present the changes? If you're trying, you are on mute.
I know it took him a little bit to load in, so we might be
Okay.
having some trouble. Yeah, Mark, we still can't hear you. Looks like you're off mute though.
Yeah, I'm still not having any luck. I see we have Mr. Norris and Mr. Crandall here. Good evening to you both. Is there any chance that either of you would be able to handle the presentation if Mr. Santora is unable to get Zoom to work this evening?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Michael Norris, I'm the attorney for the applicant. We would need Mark to make the presentation. He's more familiar with the technical issues and what
Sure.
he's been doing as far as the plans are concerned. I wish I could help you, but it's beyond my scope.
Gotcha. Mark, I don't know if you can hear us. We've had similar issues in the past, and folks have had some success by disconnecting and trying again. Perhaps we can give that a try. I guess ultimately, if we are unable to get the technology to work tonight, we would have been unable to act anyhow. So I suspect we would not be losing any ground. We'll give it another couple of minutes here, and hopefully we can get this to work.
Yeah, just an update. I believe Lucas Environmental's review is still in draft form, so we're hoping to get that completed prior to the next meeting, and the same for Fuss and O'Neill's. So I believe Fuss and O'Neill's will come early next week, so you guys can keep an eye out for that. I heard back from Amy from Fuss and O'Neill early this afternoon.
Okay.
I don't see him coming back in as an attendee yet.
Yeah. All right, if folks don't mind, I'm comfortable giving it another couple, 2-3 minutes here. And if ultimately we're not able to get it to work, we'll have to talk about a continuance, and then we can continue along with our agenda. I'm not sure if you can reach Mr. Santora via text, but perhaps one thing we've done in the past, when all else fails, you can connect via phone and do it simply by voice. And I think we could probably get some work done that way.
Oh. I'll try that now to see if I can get him on.
Thank you.
John, you want to see if you can reach him?
Yep, I'll do that right now.
Popped back up, so hopefully you can load in now.
All right, it looks like you're off mute.
Still not hearing anything though, Mark, I'm sorry. I can look up the phone number if you would like to try that and dial in, and I can review over that way. So if you get a phone, if you get a pen real quick, if you dial 312-626-6799, and the meeting ID is 837-758-7831, and the password is 634417. And I can look out for a phone number. I'd be happy to share the plans for you. John, have you heard from Mark at all? I don't know if he's going to try and call in.
Yeah, I haven't. I sent him a text and a quick call, but he didn't pick up. So I don't know if he's,
Yeah.
figuring out with his technology over there or what, but
Yeah, I've never seen the kind of symbol that's popped up on his screen, so it might be his computer issue.
right.
I know we are having, at our house here in Southborough, terrible trouble with connectivity, even this morning into this afternoon after the storms last night. I can only imagine out in the wilds of Grafton, where I believe he's from, or North Grafton, that probably suffering the same thing.
The wilds of North Grafton.
They may be having the storm out there.
Oh,
Oh, there is one coming through. Yeah, I think it was more towards the Cape or Southern Mass, but yeah.
oh. Listen. His rectangle just blinked. It looked like something was happening, but not.
What about it? I'm not seeing any phone numbers come up on the attendees side.
Yeah, I think at this point, it looks like this may be a wash. I think that technology is going to win this one tonight. Like I said, we're still waiting on some pretty crucial pieces of information before we can act. And I suspect with a clean review from both Lucas and Fuss and O'Neill, I strongly suspect we'll be able to wrap things up at the next meeting. So with that being said, Mr. Norris, are you folks okay with a continuance to, as it stands right now, our August 4th meeting, which is our next one?
That would be fine, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Would a commissioner care to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All right, Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry, things didn't pan out. Thank you very much for coming in tonight, and hopefully we'll have better luck come next meeting.
Through the chair, Mr. Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, 169 Parkerville Road. I think we all got the email. There was some sounds like there's some tree cutting that sounds like perhaps inadvertently went into some resource areas. Is the homeowner joining us this evening?
Yep, so I believe Matt is the homeowner, so I'm gonna promote him up to a panelist so I can bring him in. I'll just give him a second to load in. You there, Matt?
Hi, yes, I am.
Hi. Thank you for coming. So just a quick brief background. There was some tree removal done on the property at 169 Parkerville. My understanding from the homeowner was it was some hazardous trees that needed to be removed. So he very quickly responded to the email that I sent him regarding the issue, because we do have kind of a recent as-built from 2020 for the I think it was the renovation of the septic and kind of general kind of, I hate to call it flip, but upkeep of the house at 169 Parkerville that was subsequently closed out. And so we do have the wetland delineated up back there. It is kind of on top of a steep hill, so it is kind of a little bit deceiving. So I understand that aspect. And it's my understanding that Matt has also reached out to DGP Associates, who created the as-built, who I had a conversation with them yesterday, I believe, to go over kind of what I was thinking for kind of an assessment of the area. So kind of establishing the wetland flags that had been previously put, and kind of doing a quantitative analysis of wetland resource impacts and also buffer zone impacts. And so Matt, if you maybe want to just give us kind of brief background on the reasonings and kind of what went on back there.
Sure. Yeah. Just so the basic idea was last year during the summer, there were a number of storms with very high winds, as I'm sure we all know. Several of the trees that were pretty close to the house, but probably about 15, 20 feet from the rear, were damaged by some falling limbs from a much bigger tree right next to it. And they started kind of leaning toward the house a bit. And there was a tree further back that just from all the rain and the wind had just lifted out of the ground and was just lying across a couple other branches, which got me kind of thinking. And I actually, in late 2020, I also had a tree directly next to my house split in half and somehow missed both my house and my neighbor's house, but I was just kind of paranoid, I guess, since then. So I contacted a tree company to say, hey, there's a couple of just these big trees right next to my house that have some visible damage. There's a little bit of mold and stuff. I'm not a tree expert. I don't know anything about the real condition of them. But I contacted the company thinking they would just bring like a crane and pull out like the 1 or 2 trees that I wanted gone. And they informed me that because it was on this hill and just the layout of the land, they're like, oh, we don't have a crane. Conceivably, that would be large enough to do that. So I asked them what the options were, and they said, oh, well, if we clear out a little path of trees, we can fell them the other way so that they wouldn't, damage anything. So I, not realizing that this was wetlands, was like, sure, that sounds like a reasonable thing. And I was going to replant trees there anyway that they removed because I like the trees. I just wanted the close ones gone. So they cut out kind of a clearing of probably 8 trees, I'd say, 8, 9 trees, something like that. They felled these really big ones that I considered dangerous. And then I got an email. I was like, oh, crap. So here I am.
The stumps for the trees were not removed. Is that correct? The stumps are still in situ?
The stumps are in place, yes.
Okay, great. And you said that it was your intention to replant some of the trees? Yeah,
the trees that weren't really close to the house, I was going to replant anyway, just because I wanted them to grow there. I was going to see if maybe there was a native species that grew a little bit shorter. But yeah. The ones that were very close to the house, I wasn't going to replace, but if needed, of course I can.
Certainly turn it over to the rest of the commission in just a moment, but having an assessment done by the firm that did the delineation, and mitigating the removal of trees by simply replanting some native species is right in line with what the commission would be looking for. We understand this is this was an inadvertent thing, and you weren't intentionally going into a wetland, taking the trees down. With that being said, so Melissa, the engineering company is reestablishing the flags.
Yeah. So they're going to, just because they have the survey points, so they're going to have their survey crew go out, reestablish, identify the cumulative square feet within the resource area, within the 20-foot, and then just buffer zone in general. And then some sort of, restoration plan with the, the thought of the preferred plant list that we have are similar other native trees. So they're also going to inventory the trees that were taken as well, since the stumps are still there.
Okay, and from your visit to the site, did it appear the impact of the wetland is limited to the tree removal, or was there additional impact?
So it looked like they used some small skid steers up there. So, the soils are a little bit compacted. I'm not sure kind of what the vegetation makeup looked before, but there is kind of a large area that's kind of been cleared of ground cover, and that's just kind of bare dirt. But I think we'll, easily vegetate back. There was limited invasives, but there was some, I think, bittersweet, but most of it was just aggressive. There was grape out there. So it is definitely the natives that were out there. I think I saw some Jack in the Pulpit. So I'm comfortable that the ground cover will reestablish, if left alone.
Okay. So, well, first, questions, comments, concerns from the commission. Okay. Or for that matter, if there's anyone from the public here this evening who wants to ask a question or make a comment, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and we'll promote you up to do just that.
The only
Okay.
thing that really comes to my mind is how do we get this out there better? And Matt, maybe you can help us with this. You know, did you just move to town?
Yeah, I moved during the pandemic, so it was late 2020 is when I moved.
And did you receive any type of packet from the town welcoming you and kind of the thought process going on around town?
I did actually. Some very nice lady came to my house and offered me a packet, and it was lovely.
That packet is different though. That's like the local restaurants and activities, not.
Never mind.
No, because I also moved and got that packet, and I don't think that's what you're referring to, Russ.
No. So something from the townhouse, like, you know, we have these records that we record. When you buy your house, we know who the new people are.
Yeah, so what I now doing that maybe we missed right after Matt moved in is that I now send every month a letter to new homeowners, and properties that have wetlands on or adjacent to, I do include that. And according to our records, you have wetlands on your property, and I give them a pamphlet of, wetlands in Southborough and what the local regulations are. So that is something we're doing, moving, since I think the early pandemic, moving forward. And then also something that we've kind of talked about in the past, I'm sorry, Matt, to drag you into this, is that for permits that are open, that have been sold while the notice of it, or while the order of conditions is open. In past towns, I've had a special condition that states that any change of ownership of the property, a new homeowner must sign kind of an acknowledgement form that they are aware that there is an open order or there are wetlands on their property. So that might be something that we want to think about too, especially for new construction.
That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, Matt, I'm sorry Melissa has started this new program of sending out these mailings, and it sounds like it began shortly after you moved to town. But I think it sounds like we have a path through this. We're not going to be able to act tonight. I don't think there's really going to be much for us to act on. It sounds like Melissa's guiding you through the process. We're not talking about any kind of enforcement order or fines or anything like that. We just, replanting the trees that came down, and you're now aware that there's a wetland there, and it will be allowed to the ground cover will revegetate, and we can all get on with life. But I think we'll probably revisit this at our next hearing on August 4th. The flags will probably, I would imagine, be rehung by then, and an assessment will be made of the impact of the wetland and what needs to happen to mitigate that impact.
Yeah, and I want to thank Matt for getting back to me so quickly. I really appreciate your cooperation in this. It's been very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, certainly not here to obstruct.
I appreciate it. I think that was the easiest communication I've had with a homeowner in a while, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we all do. Thank you very much, Matt, for attending tonight and working with us. And it sounds like we've got a very clear path forward through this. So, like I said, unless things change, we'll address this at our next hearing, and I suspect it will just be us saying, "Yep, that looks great," and that will be it.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, and have a great night.
Thank you. You all as well.
Thank you. Okay, all the COCs are being continued.
Yep, they still just find those inspection ports and get that new garage that was in progress as I went out.
So next up is 84 Main Street. We got a copy of the proposed planting plan from Michael Weishan.
Yeah. Do you want me to share it really quickly?
Could you please? Thank you. And while you're doing that, were you able to? I honestly intended to do it and never got around to it. Did you take a look at the species just to confirm that they're on the list?
Yep. So, all is kind of in conformance with what I was talking with Michael with when I met him out on the site. They're kind of those clustered plantings, which is really the consistent of what we want to be doing for pollinator initiatives. So we have some plantings around the pond area. The only thing that I did notice is that it called kind of for some rock groundings to be added to hold up the bank, which is these gray areas right here. And I assume them, to be kind of mid-size, rocks to kind of hold up the side. I didn't necessarily see anything of concern with those. That's mostly just so the plants stay on the top where they're supposed to be. But so we have these clusters here, kind of some, I forget what 2 and 4, what these ones are. I think these are the Ceres candidus. These kind of flowering trees. And then these ash tree will be removed. I know that the property owner has put a lot of effort in trying to save some of the historic trees, but some of them just really aren't taking. So we also have some of the restoration plantings along the side here. And, we still have our meadow plantings that they're going to kind of reinvigorate and throw some seed down as needed along the reservoir.
Okay. So questions, comments, concerns from the commission? It looks to me like this is exactly in line with what we were looking for. We already voted on the administrative amendment. This is just sort of filling in the last.
We didn't vote because I asked you guys to hold so we can specifically reference this plan.
Okay.
So I can bring that document up to that draft. It's just, I haven't changed anything except added in, what the site plan is called. So if we want to make that formal administrative amendment vote tonight, I think that would be appreciated by them all. And we can finally get this off the docket.
Let's do it.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions about the plan, or should I stop sharing? Are we okay with that? All right. It's just easier to see you all.
Okay. We all saw the document that Melissa had put together, corralling all the different changes into a single administrative amendment that we can handle with a single vote to get this all wrapped up. So we'll be looking for a motion to issue an administrative amendment as described in the document prepared by Melissa, to which has been added a reference to the plan that we just saw. Anyone care to make the motion? Thank you. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Zulik,
Yes.
Farrington,
Yes.
Gregory.
Oh, you're on mute, Russ.
Oh, sorry, wrong button. Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. The Chestnut Hill Farm Management Plan.
I don't.
A little bit of.
Yeah, I don't see DA here yet. I don't know if you want to hold for a little bit and move through the rest, or if you want to start talking.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize she was going to be in attendance tonight. No, let's continue on the agenda, and if she's able to attend later on, we can take it up then.
She had a conflicting one.
The SMP bylaw and regs update.
Yeah, so I don't have anything in writing to show you guys tonight, kind of with the updates. So from last time, we went over the kind of survey questions that I polled you guys about. And I reached out to a couple communities that had similar language about the roadway exemptions, and unfortunately didn't really hear back from them. So I kind of didn't get a good understanding of what type of permits that they typically get from the DPW, if that's included versus what they kind of have exempted from not including that. I'm also waiting for town council to get back to me still about the change of the zoning bylaw from within the zoning to out, mostly for the appeal process. And I think that's about it. I started the draft of kind of the different threshold languages with kind of having what our general consensus was from the last time. So I'm hoping I'm going to kind of double down on some of the communities that I reached out to and reach back out to town council again. So hopefully by the next meeting, hopefully if we have enough members, we can have a better draft to look at and really start just focusing on the nitty gritty of the, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and getting it ready for town meeting.
Fantastic. And we haven't had any feedback yet from town council on removing stormwater from zoning?
No.
Okay.
So I tried to catch him at office hours, but it seems like he comes on mostly Wednesdays at like 10 to 12, and that's usually without fail. I have a meeting with the homeowner then, but so I'm hoping to either catch him at office hours or I'm going to send a follow-up to my legal request for him that I emailed to him.
Great. I'm very curious what if anything he has to say about it. Interesting to see. All right, we're on to other business, conservation scientist and agent reports.
So I do have two small administrative updates. The first, I want to share a plan with you. This is at 3 Breakneck Road. So they essentially, the only thing that they would like to change is that this right here is where the proposed stone wall was going to be. And here in the red is where they would like the actual stone wall to be. And the main reasoning for this is just erosion control and, looking at the grades, they think that this would help stabilize it a little bit more. It's still within the limit of work outside of the 20-foot. I would agree that they're looking, they'd really want to get this in sooner than later, because if you guys, for those who were here when we permitted it, it's a very low site. The road is very high and the site itself sits very low. So there's a lot of fill that's coming in. So actually extending this stone wall will really help for the, overall stabilization when they're trying to get grass, but also just kind of in the future as well, so that the hill doesn't erode, as they're finishing up. So I wanted to get your take if you saw any issues with this. I think it can fall very easily into kind of a administrative update, even without the commission needing a vote, but just wanted to make sure that there weren't any concerns before I gave the formal okay to them.
I like it. I'd like to see the end somehow, that it prevents people from going down and in. It just makes us so clean.
Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah, that's a good point, Russ. It helps to define the 20-foot no touch and give us a little assurance there won't be any creep.
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah, and they're not changing, they're not doing it to put more fill and more backyard. The grades are still staying the same. It's just really for, that better delineation.
Okay. In this way, we'll just have we don't need a vote, but there'll be sort of a note to this effect in the file. So when we come for a COC, we'll have some sort of recollection. Okay.
Absolutely. And the second one is that at what used to be 192 Woodland Road was one single family hot split into two. They've just started to do their test pits for the infiltration units. So they're just updating kind of what the final elevations will be. So I got a report from Bowler Engineering from one of their PEs outlining, these changes. Essentially like one of them was oddly, about 12 feet too low below the surface, because they weren't taking into consideration what the final elevation will be. So that's really it. And it's just on the plans, they didn't have the roof connections to the subsurface infiltration. So they just are adding those and further clarifying. So no items on that. Just wanted to make you aware. And that's all I had on that. And I do see DA and Mike Francis here if we wanted to head back to Chestnut Hill.
Perfect, let's do it.
All right. I will move DA and Mike over.
Good evening.
Hi there, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. So, Melissa, you forwarded us an email from Open Space, and it sounds like DA, you're kind enough to be sending the trustees has a staff ecologist that's going to be going out to the site to meet with Open Space and presumably others who wish to attend to talk about the mowing schedule and bobolink situation.
Yeah, Ben, we can do a variety of things. A couple of things have happened since that letter was received. We had, I guess, been out there, I want to say a few days before the letter was received, and they had done a count and they do have some information, but I'm not an ecologist. So I wanted to be sure that our staff ecologist who really, can speak to this can both meet with this group if you'd like, and also with Open Space. Her name is Julie Richburg. She's fantastic. She's been, doing this for many years and has been monitoring what's happening at Chestnut. We also have hired an agroecologist, which is a new position for the trustees and one that we're really excited about because it sort of merges the two, and agriculture and ecology, and really looks at best practices therein. So Alejandro would also be willing to come and meet with the Conservation Commission, but also on site with Open Space. So we're very open to all of that. Julie's on vacation this week, so that's why she can't be here tonight.
The meeting on site with Open Space, they've really been taking the lead on this. Sounds like a fantastic idea. I do have a vacation coming up, but if I'm around, I'm going to try to attend that as well.
Okay, great. That'll be super.
And any other commissioners with interest, I would encourage also.
We can coordinate that once Julie's back from vacation. I can do that, I guess, for you, Melissa, right? And rather than directly with Open Space. And then there was another comment on that letter about the parking lights in the parking lot. And I think that's been communicated that was completely an oversight on our part. It was a timer that the electrician installed. And once we found out about it, we shut it right off.
Yeah, it sounds like that issue has been laid to rest. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
I think that brings us up to date. Open Space is hoping to learn the details of of what has happened or is going on with the bobolinks and how their habitat needs coincide with mowing schedules and so forth. And they have asked, I think reasonably, that the management plan not receive an official approval just until this meeting has happened.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Yeah, DA, I just realized Freddie responded to my email just when I sent them the updated management plan today, just asking to meet with the staff ecologist, and pleased to hear that the lighting has been addressed, but they would, like to meet and possibly, I think that she hadn't had time to review the management plans as well. So she wanted some time to be able to look those over.
okay, that's fine. The management plan has everything that we have all talked about, all the updates, it's ready to go. So that's absolutely fine. And we'll coordinate that meeting on site. I think that's going to be really interesting. And I also think it's really important for both groups to know each other well and to be able to report back to each other. And, we really rely a lot on volunteer observers for many of these programs. So that'll be great for the Open Space Committee members as well.
Fantastic. So, Melissa, it sounds like you're going to have a hand in helping get the meeting set up. Would you mind just including us on the CC on the email, just so, like I said, if I'm in town, I'd like to attend also.
Absolutely.
And so others will have the chance. Great. Great.
On a separate note, Ben, I did want to let everyone know that we have received our occupancy permit at for the new Deerfoot barn, and that summer camp has started, and it is just amazing. And I'd love to schedule a time to invite all of the commissioners to come out and see the work that's been done on the property. So if that's all right with you, we'll try to coordinate a separate date with Melissa to have everyone come out and take a little walk and a peek around at everything that's happening.
That would be great. The last time I was in that structure, it was on Deerfoot Road. It'll be interesting to see.
Oh yeah, that'll be, you'll really get a kick out of it. So good.
Okay, anything from any of the commissioners? Any questions or comments for DA while we have her here?
Just wanted to say I was out there Tuesday wandering around. It was absolutely beautiful. I actually went down the bubbling trail. It was well mowed, and so thank you for that. And I did peek in the windows at the barn. It looked great. So.
Oh, Kevin, thank you. Thank you.
Great. And yes, and thank you, Mike, for seeing through that with the bubbling trail.
Sure, absolutely. We're definitely, one step closer. The trail's been mowed and cleared of other obstacles or debris, and now we're just working on some improved signage that I think we all agree would be helpful, beneficial to the users there.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you both very much for coming in this evening.
Our pleasure, as always, and give a holler if there's anything else that you need, and we'll look forward to the upcoming the one meeting and a visit from the commissioners.
Great. Thanks a lot, and have a great night.
You too.
You too.
Thanks.
Good night.
Okay, so that leaves us with the Breakneck Hill dump, an update on what's going on there.
We will have our notice of intent in hand on Monday. So at our next meeting, it will be in front of us. I got a sneak peek of the draft. It is just for the test pitting, so it's not too exciting, but they've got some great figures in there of where the test pits will go. An important thing to remember is that it is kind of a two-phased approach in thinking of if we need to test on the abutter's property or not. So we will be looking at the test pits on both properties, but we'll only be moving forward first with the towns, and then if the state determines that we need to continue, then we'll need to get the abutter to sign the permission slip, and then we do the additional 3 on the other side as well. So we will discuss that at the next meeting. We have already, it's from Lucas Environmental's peer review for wetland delineation from before he left. And I've had them kind of outline their general path that the contractor would take to get in the site, and kind of the outline of where they would hit first and kind of the scope of what would need to be cleared to do these test pitting. So we're excited to get that going, and hopefully we can get that, done in the next 2, hopefully, meetings, so we can get those test pits done by September, and that would keep us on schedule from ACO.
Fantastic. There has been some talk about trying to reschedule our next meeting. Presumably we'll get that finalized through email.
Yeah.
I will say, so that the week following, I'm actually away.
Okay.
I don't know that I would be able to attend even by Zoom.
Okay. All right.
We can try to work that out by email in the coming week or so here.
It's possible if it is still, if I can participate virtual, I can probably call, and I assume where I am will have Wi-Fi, or I can find Wi-Fi to join if it's necessary to reach a quorum. If it's in person, I will be out of state. So
awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys abreast of any state changes at the state level. I know they were really hopeful they were going to get things done by the Friday deadline, which is tomorrow, but it is tomorrow. So that being said, obviously if anything changes, I will let you guys know. And I think the goal is also for in-person meetings moving forward. The town has purchased what they call the OWL system. The planning board has been using it already. So it's basically a hybrid meeting. So the majority of us in the chair would have to be in person. And then anyone on top of the majority could be remote as long as it's approved by the chair. So we would have this kind of camera system that moves based on where the voices are coming from. And it connects with Zoom so that people on Zoom can see both our faces and anything we're sharing on the screen. So it's something to kind of work out for the future. And hopefully that does kind of alleviate some quorum issues, although you still have to have a majority in person. But
Is that what the new legal, like with what's going through approval, is it to allow for it to continue as is, or for allow to continue with that quorum in person with the remote participation?
So the changes at the state level would be to continue to allow completely remote meetings moving forward, or at least until a date determined if it's not in
And so
perpetuity.
even if that isn't approved, we can use that methodology that you were just talking about as long as it was in person. Doing
Yeah, so that's been existing pre-COVID.
Cool.
It's just, yeah,
But yeah,
coming up with the times.
The catch is always you have to have a quorum in person. And
Yeah.
usually when you get to talking about one person doing it remote, it's because you can't assemble a quorum.
Yeah.
So we've gone through this a few times and we always hit that stumbling block. But
And-
hopefully the legislature can, I'm sorry.
So my other question was, if we are allowed to continue to remote, is that what we plan to do? Like, is everyone like, yeah, let's continue to be remote, or are people jonesing to get back in person?
I think that's up to you guys.
I miss the in-person meetings, but the summertime is always so crazy that being able to do it remotely is very helpful to me.
And it still starts at 7 when it's in person?
Yep.
So with that, I think that's, unless anyone has anything else they want to bring up, I think we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All right, Zulik, Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory.
Yep.
Smith.
Yes.
All right, Joe, it was a very exciting meeting for you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Joe.
I was expecting you to have more work to do,
Yeah, I
but
thought there might be a little bit to do.
Yeah.